Hello, my name is Jimmy. I'm a child passenger safety technician, and this is the 2024 Hyundai Kona, the second smallest SUV that they make. And for 2024, it's been redesigned, reimagined, and lengthened quite a bit. So let me tell you everything you need to know, starting with the looks. This here is the N-Line Ultimate, the top trim here in Canada, for about 38,500 Canadian dollars. And what you get is, you do get a different front bumper. All N-Line, the regular as well as the Ultimate package, get this sportier front end treatment, but this LED daytime headlamp, this is going to stretch across the front of every single new Kona. And you also have LED headlamps on the bottom. On the side, this is where you're going to see the big stretch in its wheelbase. Also, the fender flares, instead of being more rounded, it's quite a bit more squared off than before. Two-tone paint is an option depending on paint color. You do also get proximity door locks on the front, which I absolutely love, but sadly not on the rear. Out back, being the N-Line, you get this sporty rear deck lid spoiler. I love this kind of third brake light in the middle. That's pretty cool. LED light bar across the midsection. I mean, it's a good looking vehicle. I love this new direction that Hyundai is taking with their new cars. But with this stretch wheelbase, not only do you get more legroom in the back, you also get 33% more cargo space. Finally, we get more space back here. This is great as well because the trunk floor, you can lower it as you need. And of course, you can fold those seats 60-40. All right, the back seats. I'm 5'11", and headroom and legroom both are really, really good. There's an extra 77 millimeters of leg space here compared to the previous generation. So it's actually a really accommodating space. It's still a subcompact, so you don't get the best quality materials, but it's not bad back here. No vents, but you do get two USB Type-C ports on the bottom. Sadly, I don't have my car seats with me on this trip, but looking at the space, you should be able to carry an infant seat or a rear convertible with no issues. Two sets of lower anchors, one on the driver's side here and one on the passenger side, and three upper anchors behind the bench. But let's move up front. All right, the front seats. I mean, I'm 5'11", headroom, legroom both are really, really good. You do get more space here than the previous 2023 model, so it's actually not bad. The seats, this being the N-Line Ultimate, you have the suede and leather mix. They're heated as well as cooled. Bolstering is pretty good. Actually keeps you within your seat pretty well, but it's not overly aggressive where it's just uncomfortable. In front of me, this leather steering wheel is actually quite nice. It is the newer Hyundai style. So you get 4 dots on the steering wheel to represent, H as the Morse code would, rather than an actual H like they typically would have. The buttons are a little bit different as well. Those are actually quite nice. And then behind that, a full digital cluster. Lower end trims do have a different cluster, but it's brand new. And it actually looks quite a bit different than the previous generation or any other Hyundai product. It's a lot cleaner here, and the animation is definitely smoother as well. Sadly, no heads-up display, but the infotainment is that same 12.3-inch screen that you get with the cluster. It's, once again, on the latest operating system, and it actually looks really good. Just the overall smoothness of the interface, it's absolutely great. You do have Android Auto and CarPlay, but sadly, you do have to plug it into the USB Type-C port down on the bottom. What you do have is, you do have a bunch of dedicated buttons for your media, as well as your dual zone climate control, which is always a great thing. Overall, yeah, it's been updated, and it has all the latest tech you would expect. It's a very well thought out interior. There's cubbies where you kind of would expect, and the cubbies are actually quite large for you to put whatever you need. A lot of the buttons have been moved up to the dash, and even the shifter has been moved to the column here, just creating more space here in the center for whatever you need. Being a parent, space is great. I mean, baby wipes, food, whatever. They can all go in all these cubby spots. So that's absolutely amazing. Before we go out for a drive, let's talk a little bit about the powertrain. The base Kona still runs a 2-liter 4-cylinder paired with a CVT, while the N-Line that we have here is mated to the 1.6 turbo. It now makes 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. Instead of the 7-speed dual clutch that it had before, now it's an 8-speed automatic. I totally understand a lot of people is going to be kind of sad they ditched that dual clutch, but let's be honest, the 8-speed it's better, it's smoother. And for a vehicle like this, that's kind of what you want. Do you really need something that's quicker shifting? Probably not. And acceleration is pretty good. That 1.6 actually wakes up decently well. So if I floor it, takes a second to kick down, but well on its way. The powertrain is surprisingly smooth. The 1.6, it doesn't really struggle for torque. At 195 foot-pounds, it's more than sufficient for kind of everyday needs. But I definitely would recommend this engine over that 2-liter. The 2-liter, 132 pound-feet, it's just going to struggle. Like if you're going to be on like merging lanes on highways or anything like that, it's just not the best for that. This, well, you don't really have to worry. In terms of the ride, they said that they didn't change anything in terms of the suspension or how the steering feels. And honestly, it drives like any other car and it feels like any other car. There's nothing really that great or disappointing about it. It's just average. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. In this class, there are vehicles that's just terrible. And this being average is actually already above some of the other manufacturers that's out there. So it's actually decent. As this does weigh a little bit more than the previous years, it does suffer a little bit in terms of fuel economy. I don't have the numbers with me, but I'll just display it on the screen for you here. Sure, it's not as good as, for example, the Corolla Cross Hybrid, but this doesn't have hybrid tech. You don't have to worry about, the maintenance on that side of the equation itself. So, I mean, is this going to be the subcompact that you're going to pick? It's hard to say, because on paper, if I look at this and the Seltos, which essentially is like they're cousins because they're basically the same cars, the Seltos has a lot of good things going for it because, well, it's a little bit less money, but it has heated rear seats, and it also has something else that this doesn't have that I forgot. But this, well, at least you get a 360 camera. And I know a lot of people love the 360 camera because it just makes it easier to park. But you do have to step up to that ultimate trim to get that. I think the interior of this, in my opinion, is better than the Seltos. I mean, the dual zone climate control is also really nice. And the storage in the center is a little bit more clever, which I do appreciate as well. Would I recommend the top trim at $38,500? It's just a little bit hard. Maybe don't get the ultimate, just go with the regular N-line. At least you still get that 1.6 turbo. Sure, you don't get cooled seats. Sure, you don't get the Bose audio system and not the 360 camera, but at least you're not paying $38,500 for it. In any case, let me know what your thoughts are on the brand new Kona. Is it worth it now with the extended, well, wheelbase with more room in the rear and the trunk? It's a pretty good contender. Anyways, take care. Have a great day.